what I wanted to show was I kind of went through like a software stack of things that have helped me as a business owner and maybe could help you as a business owner as well and help you with the recruiting business specifically. I tried to put myself in your shoes for a little bit. Obviously I do a little bit of a different business, but I am a service-based business and I do a lot of marketing that's going to be kind of similar to what you guys are doing, right? So there's a couple things here, I just wanted to go over. Like when I did everything and added everything together, it's $500 really for a software stack to get started. And that's not covering your taxes, right? So that's not covering like an LLC incorporation or anything like that. But if you wanted to use a really cheap, really easy stack that could just get you going as soon as possible, that was my goal here. And I was trying to figure out, well, if I could get started, tomorrow for $500, how could I do that, right? If I could get started for $200, you could technically get started with this for $200 if you just take out the website here. We just take out a website. You don't really even need a website. You can go in and get a really strong LinkedIn profile, do your best job with the LinkedIn profile. That's really all you need to get started tomorrow, right? And if we're getting started tomorrow, that's only $200. We don't necessarily have to do the website or anything like that. The big thing is for you guys specifically is just having the courage to go out and make the calls and do the calls when you need to make the calls, right? And getting people lined up for interviews, getting people lined up for placements, right? So I'm going to run through this stack really quick just to show you kind of all the software that's associated with it. All right, so first thing I want to talk about a website. A website is a good marker of whether or not you have a legitimate business, right? You're not just trying to pick up some extra business on the side or something like that. It's just a really good way to kind of push people over the edge just to make sure that they know that you exist and they're confident in your existence. You don't really even have to get that special with it, to be honest with you. Most people don't spend a lot of time, on your website, especially if you're recruiting, right? They're just looking there to see that you're legitimate if they go to your website at all, right? Because if you look at most recruiters' websites, it's basically just a form that says contact us, right? I mean, there are some that have databases and legitimately place jobs and whatnot, right? I mean, it really depends on what you're trying to do as a recruiter. If you're just looking for a contingency placement, you don't need to be placing a bunch of jobs up on your job board, because how often are you really getting people coming to your website specifically looking for jobs? They're going to go to Indeed, they're going to go other places, right? It might in fact be a little bit of a waste of time to go through and put a lot of that stuff on your website. Obviously that's up to you, and it depends on, and there's probably going to be plenty of people here that might hear this and disagree with me. I just think that your time is better spent finding candidates and placing candidates kind of, I wouldn't say manually, but by utilizing automation. I think you're going to do a lot better job doing something like that, right? At the end of the day, this is just something that seals the deal, right? It just makes you look legitimate. So is it really needed? I don't think so. I think you can start tomorrow with just the other software stacks that we're looking at. So first things first, you got to get candidates, right? I mean, it depends on how you want to format your business, but in my opinion, I think you should go from the candidate and then place them, because you're getting people who are off market and going through that role rather than going actively after somebody that's already, probably already going through some of the other channels, right? You want to find people that are off market. Those are usually your best candidates too, right? The people that already have jobs, not the people who are out there struggling to find them, right? There's a reason a lot of the time. And I'm sure you find that out a lot when you are trying to place a candidate. You can figure out really quickly whether or not they're good or not. And a lot of times the unemployed ones aren't that great, right? So you want to find the people that are already employed. And so you want to use a couple strategies. And this is a strategy that we use here. We have a LinkedIn strategy where we do cold outreach and reach out to a bunch of different candidates. You may have gotten one message from us in the past, and I do have we do have live messaging. We do live messaging all the time, but sometimes just to start the conversation, we do use the automated messaging. system. So yeah, if you are looking at, I would look at Sales Navigator first and foremost, rather than Recruiter Lite or Recruiter Pro. Do you really need Recruiter Lite, Recruiter Pro? I think you can get away without it. And I think, you know, you don't have to spend all that money in Recruiter Pro, Recruiter Lite. But if you just go and get the regular Sales Navigator, and of course it wants me to log in here, but I'm just going to avoid that for right now. But if you get the Sales Navigator, I think it is like $70 per month now, something like that. Here, let me pull up my schedule. So Sales Navigators right now, it's $65 per month. Okay. So $65 per month, you're able to go in and search for people. You know, at some point here, when I'm not covering like 1099s and other things, I can show you kind of how the automation works and how you search and all that other stuff. But basically, you can go into Sales Navigator, you can search for any type of people as you want. If you are in a niche, I use the accounting for my theoretical niche in this situation, just because I'm so familiar with it. But what I would do is I would focus on somebody who is in a higher range in a specific niche industry. So if I wanted to focus on accounting, for instance, I would go after tax managers, or, you know, because there's still going to be a lot of tax manager candidates. There's going to be a lot of tax manager jobs. It's going to be from anywhere from $90,000 to $120,000 per year, right? So if you're placing somebody like that, you're looking at 20K on a single placement, right? So if you're trying to go from there, I would search for tax managers in a specific arena, right? And then I would start adding people, right? And the way that we add people is we use these LinkedIn automation formats. There's a couple different ones. There is Octopus, which I think is super cheap here. I'm not familiar with it, so I didn't put it in here because I know for a fact that Meet Alfred works really well. And I like Meet Alfred for a lot of different reasons, but Octopus is here. I think there's a couple of people who are in this field here that recommend Octopus. It looks good. I haven't used it myself, so I'm just going to go with the ones that I've used. You know, I use Meet Alfred right now. Meet Alfred's a little bit more expensive on some of the things, right? But the big thing is they have the LinkedIn CRM system, so it's easier to kind of keep track of people, mark them out as possible candidates, and mark up what kind of level you are in follow-ups and things like that, right? So you're able to do a couple different things with that CRM system. I don't think the Octopus necessarily has that. I'm not sure. But there's different pricing comparisons there. I think I used $59 per month there. And, you know, what you do with the LinkedIn automation method is you just go in, you add as many people as you can. So, you know, I was in that personal position. I would go in and I would add every single tax manager I could for in the local area as much as possible. I would even do it in other areas too, in other big cities. I'd probably just get a bunch of tax managers, right? And I would just stack up my tax manager friends list, okay? And then I would message them with, hey, have you ever thought about looking at other opportunities? And then you just kind of wait and let the interviews roll in. You find a couple of really good candidates, really easy to place candidates. Then it's a matter of going back through and now finding people who are hiring managers. I would probably say you probably wouldn't want to look to a big firm who's probably already got somebody in-house doing a lot of that stuff. Although, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people here that are like, oh, well, I work with those guys all the time. Sure there are. But personally, especially when I was just starting out, I would go for firms that had about 10 to 50 people, because then they're probably not going to have a formal HR person on staff, but they're also growing. They probably need people, right? They're always constantly on the lookout for people because it is a churn and burn industry. CPAs, it's a lot of, it's a lot of work. So you end up burning people out pretty quick. And so people move. Tax managers don't move as much because they're kind of used to it by that point. It's usually about 8 to 10 years worth of career when you're in tax manager realm. So you can pick up a bunch of people from there, and then once you have good candidates in hand, it's just a factor of calling the owner, CEO, whatever, of these different accounting firms and saying, hey, I've got a couple of really good tax managers. Are you guys looking for somebody like that right now? I mean, And you can do that via LinkedIn, right? So you just go in, you just automate it. You do a 4-step process where you just find people who might be looking for tax managers at that point. But if you already have the candidates, it's just a matter of connecting the two, right? So if you are needing to schedule interviews, I recommend Calendly. That's what I use. Calendly's worked really well for me. If you want to do an API integration where you're making a couple softwares work together, I usually make it work together with Zoom. So, or automate based off of basically putting automated messages in Calendly or in the calendar system. You can do a couple things like that with this. Super cheap for their basics one. You can also use, I think, their Schedule Once out there for a scheduling software. There's going to be people that are going to disagree and go out and say, oh, this other software is a lot better for me. Well, it depends on your situation, whatever you want to build out. Okay, you're the business owner now, so just take a look at your options, make a decision, and move forward. So if you're making appointments, that's a great way to do it. Making appointments. But let's say we did all that stuff, and now we've got somebody that's really interested. How do we get paid? Well, you can use this e-sign genie here, and all you have to do really is you can look for a template, a contingency placement contract, right? If you look online, you're going to find like a bunch of different contingency agreements, right? So all you need to do is take that contingency agreement, mark it up a little bit with your business name, etc., and then you're going to put it in here into the e-sign genie, or you're going to find, you can use Adobe, you can use DocuSign. People are mostly familiar with DocuSign. All these things are going to allow you to e-sign contracts, right? But when you look at it, this one you can start for $2, right? So you can get up to 20,000 bucks for 200 bucks if you put in the effort, if you're doing this recruiting deal, right? $2 get them to sign that contract. Okay, so now they signed the contract. You place the candidate. Hooray, hooray, right? Well, what do you do next? Well, you need to invoice these guys, right? So how do you invoice them? I would suggest, especially if you're just starting out, I think this software sucks as an accounting software. There's a couple of there's a bunch better accounting softwares if you're going to go it. I do say QuickBooks is probably the best one on the market right now. There's also Xero. Xero's cheap too. But Wave will allow you to send an email immediately for free, right? They're going to charge you a fee for these transactions, but this actually, these pay-per-use transactions right here, this is equivalent to QuickBooks too. I mean, everybody charges fees to do a payment, right? Everybody charges fees. Now, Wave will do it for free, and it also offers you a back-end accounting deal. So it's not necessarily a horrible deal to get started with this. I wouldn't recommend continuing to use it, especially as you get bigger and you grow. But if you wanted to do it for cheap, it's free, right? You can start tomorrow. You can go ahead and process a payment. You can invoice somebody tomorrow. It's really easy to get set up and invoice. Free, right? Amazing stuff. All right. If you need a phone, or if you want a phone line or a different phone line, you can do Google Voice. You can get set up with Google Voice and do phone calls with it. You can forward this directly to your cell phone if you'd like, right? So all I have to do is sit here and just collect phone calls directly into my cell phone. It gives a local area number, right? You can also set it to your headset and you can do your phone calls from there. It's usually a little bit more crystal clear and nice, and especially if you are living and dying by the phone like most recruiters are, it's not a bad deal. It's also voice VoIP, right? So other things that I really like is obviously the Google Workspace, so Gmail. I mean, you get all this stuff here at a business level for 12 bucks. Now, if you have a G Suite or a business level if you are cold emailing, some people get mad about the cold emails. At one point in time, I was doing some cold emails and somebody got my account yanked, and it was a personal account. Shouldn't have been a personal. If it was a business, it probably wouldn't have gotten yanked as quickly. I could have fought it a little bit more. But it's $12 per person really to kind of get this going. And you get all the stuff that you kind of get for free, but it's on a business level. So it's a little bit different. You can set up people in your team the big thing here is that you can set up at a website. So instead of saying my name is, Eric@gmail.com, it's going to be Eric@tuthillcpa.com, right? So you set up your website after you set up your Wix website. And I think they might have some integrations there. I know they do for Squarespace as well, for the website composition, but a lot of them have integrations where you can bring in Google and G Suite itself. The big thing there is making it look more professional, like you have a legit business, right? All you have to do to look like you have a legit business is have an at your website.com and then have a website. That's it. That's all it takes, right? So it's not too hard to get to the legit level if you'd like. So there's been a couple things in my days as a business owner that have really, I thought, have really helped me out. A couple things, I didn't bring it up here, but there's some free things out there that will really help you. Canva, they have a professional level, and then they have a not so professional level, right? So I did a couple ads for some postcards that I was sending out, and it is so easy to do ads. It doesn't really take that long to kind of go through, and you can make things look really nice. I think I did my ebook in this. It really is not that difficult to make things look good. And you can do a lot of that in Canva, amazing stuff. And you can just download. I think I had so here, check this out. We had I think I just copied one of their newsletter types right here. I just copied that into a Word document because it comes with this little image, and was able to do a nice little newsletter that looked nice, professional, all that other stuff. That's all we have to do is we have to pop in there, just do a little bit of design work. You don't have to be a great graphic designer to use this. It's pretty cool. The other thing in here, there is a paid program. Like, I haven't really had to use it that much. So I haven't really paid for it as of yet. I think the only time you really want to pay for it is when you want background transparencies and things like that. So every once in a while that it does come in handy to try to pay a little bit more for stuff like that. Some other cool tools. I love this one right here, Unsplash. This is where we get any image ever, and it's all freely usable. That is the big thing, right? So that we're not having to pay Getty Images like $1 million to use their little images for every single little thing. All you have to do is go in here. If we want business pictures, we just put in business, and we get all these nice little business pictures. You can put them anywhere, doing anything. Look, I mean, this newspaper right here says business on it. I mean, you don't get any more businessy than that, right? So there's a bunch of little pictures that you can kind of use for your website. You can use it for your social media posts, whatever it is that you want to use it for. So other things, we have Fiverr. And if you are looking for anything ever, for people to do anything for you, like online calculators, apparently I like to look at that kind of stuff. But you can have people do your website if you want. If you're like really lazy and you don't want to do your own website, or you just want to get right to work, you can put in Wix website. You can have somebody make you a website for $40, $60, $35. I would say be careful with these guys. They're usually not very good, right? There's some things that they're really good at. I think I like the design stuff that they do. For the most part, like you can get a lot of different design, video, and animation stuff. So you can do whiteboard and animated explainers if you want to do something like that. I paid some money to do some explainer videos and things like that. They come out okay. But I'll say, if you want really good stuff, you got to pay really good money. So just always keep that in mind. You can get light regular stuff in here. Video intros, they're really good at that. They're really good at a lot of the little explainers. They're okay with those. And the thing about explainers is they're kind of on and off a little bit in terms of how professional they really make you look. But I mean, it is something, if people come to your website or something like that, it looks like you put in a little bit more effort. That's cool. But for the most part, that is what it is. And there's also Upwork too. And Upwork has contractors as well. You know, if you're any good at your job, you're probably not on Upwork. So I'm gonna let you know that right now. You're probably not on Upwork, you're probably not on Fiverr. You're probably making a real business somewhere else, you know? So you're not really gonna see those guys on there, but there are people that will do tasks for you for relatively cheap. The big thing is getting Indians or people who are overseas to do some of this task work for you. And you can find people that will help you there. I think there was one more software that I was thinking about that we use. Oh yeah. There is, if you want to do, I think it's a Hootsuite. Like if you're into social media posting, you just want to keep that going up. There's Hootsuite right here. They do have a free version that will allow you to do your post and schedule your posts out over time periods, so you can get a bunch of posts knocked out all at once if you'd like. I think we've scheduled out our posts until 4:15, so that we don't have to deal with it very much during the actual busy season itself, and that we're still staying in social media presence, right? So we got Hootsuite right here, and then we also use the Postfitty. Postfitty. I mean, Postfitty. This one's it's one of the cheapest, scheduling ones. So we use a combination of the free version of Hootsuite and Postfitty to make our posts happen, right? And you can always look and see if you can find media too, if you're just wondering, well, what do I post every day? Yeah, let's see what the pricing is here. If you're wondering, hey, what do I post every day? I'm sure you can find somebody that's like a recruiter. Media blog posts. You can search for some of these things. Sometimes they'll have like pre-written social media posts, like look, Drive, there you go. You can also go through, get an RSS feed or something like that, and just go through something that's centralized to a specific niche that you're in, maybe. So if it's in accounting, right, you can find the tax advisor. You can find some things that people will, naturally click over on you and give you a little bit, maybe a little bit of engagement or something like that, or things that maybe uh, something that they would like to talk about. It happens from time to time. Most accountants don't really get on there, do much on that. um, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So that's the software suite. Like I said, if you want to set that up, like the cheapest end of the things that you can do would be I move that over there, would be some of, I think it would be $170, right? Because I mean, really all you need at the end of the day is the Sales Navigator, LinkedIn automation, all this other stuff right here to make you look good. And then to actually perform the operation of getting signed, getting paid. Oh, one thing I didn't talk about was Zoom in terms of video conferencing, especially right now. Video conferencing is the thing. So, you can show, if you're young and in this business, and you just don't want to show your face at first, you can always like black out your screen. Like if I was to do it here, I could just go completely screen blank. Or you can show your face if you're a little bit older, more mature and whatnot. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter, right? As long as you know what you're doing and you make it clear that you do. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you guys. And you have a great night.